All right, this is the JakePodcast.com. JakePodcast.com. Just in case anyone wasn't familiar with what the website is, it's the JakePodcast.com. All right, so I'm in with the gentleman who helped kill the Unknown podcast from the other day. There was a slight mishap, and kind of funny, right? You learned a few things about
what you can and cannot say on a podcast.
And remember, get right for you to speak directly into the thing. That's correct. Yeah, what you can say, what you can't say, right? You don't want defamation of character. You don't want to other people's personal. Now, if you don't say, if we mention like, yeah, this one guy, and you know who I'm talking about, so and so, and we use so and so as a good nondescript name for a lot of people. Yeah, so and so or whatever, and you can say all these things about this mythical person or this creature, just without maybe mentioning their name and then talking about some things they do that might be unsavory. And don't get me wrong, I've had to do it a couple times myself, so don't feel bad about it. But I know you were like, oh, dude, I feel like a dick. But look, it happens. So that's good. With this, no names other than we're gonna do a quick. Tomorrow night, I'm going to the probably the best boxing match that's going to happen all year, even after the Mayweather shenanigans with McGregor. But so you know little to nothing about boxing, right?
Yeah, pretty much nothing.
So this is good. You and I will be able to talk about this. But I did force you to sit there for probably 20 minutes and watch all of the fights and highlights from Canelo Alverez and from Gennady Golovkin, right? You can call him Triple G. That's much easier than trying to pronounce that guy's name. So you've got Golovkin, you got Triple G, and you've got Alvarez, the redheaded Mexican. Now I've been watching him his whole career, right? He had more like amateur fights and started as a pro at a very young age. Good dude, right? His defense was pretty much on par.
Yeah.
Like being able to slide and dip a punch, and hit somebody, and even hitting them and they're falling to the ground and they're still throwing their other punch and still being able to dip it. He's very, very, very good. And then you watched Triple G, and it seemed like you liked Triple G.
Yeah, I liked him pretty much. He was just going after it. He was able to hit the people, and I didn't really see much defense other than he was just so quick. He could just go at them before they could even throw.
Yeah, you really don't need a lot of defense when your fight plan is to just go out there and hit the dude until he falls down, right? Odds are he's not going to hit you back all that much. But I mean, his defense was still pretty good. Now, part of the reason why I wanted to do this with you real quick is, number one, you're a novice. You're not a boxing guy. You weren't brought up on it. I boxed when I was younger, multiple times, throughout my life. I really, really like boxing, if you didn't notice, as I kind of forced you to watch all this crap, right? Well, everyone will ask me, like, hey, you're going to the fight tomorrow. Who are you rooting for? Or who you betting on? Or who do you think's going to win? And up until we sat and watched that, I had no definitive answer. Like, I didn't really know. I was like, look, if it goes from somebody I watched my whole life, I want Alvarez to win. He's a ginger. He's got the red hair, whatever. He's a very good fighter, but I don't know. I'm kind of scared of Triple G.
Yeah, I understand.
Did you see how many people he knocked out?
Yeah, but did you? I mean, I don't know. I liked Alvarez's style more. He was just able. It looked more fluent, sort of like a dance. It's weird to say,
yeah,
Rocky, but it did really look more like a dance than what Triple G had. It depends on how many hits, I think.
Yeah, and and that's the crazy thing about boxing. If you get that, everyone always says, well, dude, if he gets that one hit on him, well, of course, that's why you play the game and that's why you fight the fight. A bunch of things could happen. If he does, I mean, Alvarez has taken good punches, and here's my take on it as as we went through that process, and I looked at it, and we watched all the fights. Alvarez has fought in more true, champions or people at the top of their game. He's fought and the level of competition that he's had and still won. I mean, he fought Floyd Mayweather and couldn't hit him. Floyd Mayweather was so fast, Alvarez couldn't hit him. And everyone said the same thing they said with McGregor. Man, if he lands that punch on Mayweather, he's going to knock him out. But he couldn't because his defense was so good. He ran from him, and Mayweather won, hands down. And even, their camp afterwards was like, wow, we really thought we had an answer for him, but he's too fast and too elusive. So I think that's his only loss was to Mayweather, technically, the best fighter in the game. So after watching that, I'm going to have to, with all my, if there's boxing mathematics to be had in this, I'm going to have to look at it as I'm going to go with Alvarez just because he's been in tougher fights, he's fought tougher competitors, and and I've been watching him his whole life and whatever, but I try not to get like emotionally attached to either one. If somebody's good and better, I'm not going to be like, yeah, he's going to get him, and then when he loses, go, oh, I kind of knew he was going to lose. No, the guy, he's better. But to tell you the truth, I think did you see how many body punch knockouts there were?
Yeah.
Each one of them, they would throw the same kind of combinations and body punches and whatever, so they both have kind of the same arsenal, except that, Triple G's got that crazy, I'll punch you in the forehead and knock you out.
Both arms, I mean.
Yeah, you mentioned that. He was hitting with the similar amount of power through both hands and just so rapidly. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if you can find a way to stream it, or you can watch it the day after, right? Because it's always on, it's always on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. Just pretend the fight didn't happen. I'll watch it tomorrow. But it'll be interesting. But I did make up my mind. I'm gonna have to say with whatever level of certainty I can find that because of the competition that Alvarez has faced and the fights that he's been in, I'm gonna have to go Alvarez.
I can understand that. Even most of the fights from Triple G were in Eastern Europe, whereas Alvarez was in the United States.
Yeah,
taking on other big names. So.
Yeah, and he's been fighting bigger names, and yeah, when we watched it, see, we know what we're talking about because we just watched like 40 or 35 fights of each guy. I mean, they were highlighted. We didn't watch the whole thing, but yeah, the most of it, and it was weird because when Triple G came on, I just assumed that he was here, but a lot of his stuff was fought in Germany, Monte Carlo, and he's Eastern European. They said the name of his country. I mean, if it's hard enough to say his name, it's like equally as hard to say the country he came from. I like how you went, oh, is he from Oklahoma? I was like, what are you talking about? That's something in like...
It's an Orthodox, yeah.
Yeah.
I realized.
Yeah, so yeah, you figured it out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be one of the best fights. Like, look, I'm not telling you, this is not advice, but on the off chance, if your dad, your grandparents or whatever, and they've got HBO and you click the HBO pay-per-view, how about this? I'll go halves with you. If you're willing to do the thing, just because I kind of want to turn you into a weird boxing fan. Because you said, oh, isn't it most heavyweights and whatever? And I was like, no, that was like 20 years ago. There's no real, there's a couple good viable heavyweights, but they only fight once a year or once every year and a half. These little buggers fight all the time. Small people, they got a lot of energy. They just run around and fight. But if you get it won't be like $100, it'll probably be like half of that. It'll probably be like $50. I'll go halves on you if you can talk whoever is in control of your cable and you hit the pay-per-view button and watch the fight, kind of how we watched it here. It's good. I'm telling you, dude. Just the little bit we watched, that is so much better and so much more technical than MMA and just the other shenanigans. I can see MMA fights at the bar later tonight. Dudes out there wrestling and throwing wild punches.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't know if we have HBO or anything. So.
What do you live in the side of a mountain? How do you not have HBO?
I live with my grandparents. So, they're pretty old. They don't really have much cable. I think they have basic cable upstairs.
Ah, okay. All right, so maybe you don't have the chance, but if you find a chance, I will go in half. But I don't lie to me and be like, oh yeah, I did it. It was great. Like, no, you're not.
I watched it the next morning.
No, dude, you can come in here and we'll watch it on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, I was really, really impressed. They're both like tacticians. They're very good and they're so equally yoked in their fighting styles and all the stuff they do. And I don't know. It's going to be like they're touting it right now. And see, real boxing fans, this isn't getting half of the fanfare that the Mayweather-McGregor fight, right? Because it was just a spectacle. It was more like, that was like a Cedar Point fight, right? Like, oh, roller coasters and whatever. Don't get me wrong, I was still right on that one. So number one, I don't like being wrong. but I don't know. I have to lean towards Alvarez. I have to.
I mean, I still think Triple G, just how fast he is and how many punches he was just able to get out and with both arms and everything. I didn't really see that as much from Alvarez, other than he had a good right.
Yeah, he has a very good right.
I didn't see much of his left playing and a role in it, as much as just he was just using Triple G was just using both arms the whole time in almost all of his fights.
And he is pretty wicked with his left, with power. And yeah, and look, I can't be really certain on this, right? I just got to go. I think, but I don't know. He's been in there with tougher people. He hasn't really been hit all that much, when out of the fights you've seen, and Alvarez will hit him. So there's intangibles on both sides. Like this happens, that happens. But so you're gonna go with the crazy last name, and I'm gonna go with the redheaded Mexican. Always bet on the ginger, man. If a ginger ever gets, dude, think about how much shit you've had to take in life. Just being
gingers have no soul. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just all the shenanigans that go along with being redheaded and whatever. I feel that if you make it to the mountaintop where you're like, oh, I can do good stuff and whatever, I'm gonna bet on ginger. I'm gonna bet on red. So that'll probably be my overall take on it. It'll be interesting to see what really happens though.
Yeah, I'll be sure to come in the next morning and watch it on YouTube with you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, wait a minute, that's gonna be a Sunday. I'm off Sunday.
Okay, then Monday.
Or hit me up on this and whatever. I'm gonna get up at some point, but I have a sneaking. I haven't drank in like 2 weeks, so I have a feeling there's gonna be plenty of alcohol and shenanigans going around with it. Okay. So yeah, or just hit me up on the Bachelor Pad Facebook thing. Send me a message. Hey, Dickbox, let's come in and watch. And then I'm gonna have to try and be quiet about who won and whatever, which I'm not really good at doing. If you haven't noticed, I talk a lot. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to put this out here as a pre-fight kind of. I really don't know how much more we can dissect it. They're both good. They both do everything extremely well. The only thing I can think of from a logical standpoint is, Alvarez definitely has fought much tougher guys. He's fought much tougher guys. He's definitely got a few points up on that. Golovkin is still making his way through, but he's demolishing everybody. He's 36-0. I mean, you don't beat 36 people by accident, right? But the caliber of people, I just don't know if it gets really, really tough and he gets into that point, if he gets that deep into a fight, if he's going to be able to pull it out.
I don't know how long his highlights lasted that you showed me. So
yeah, no, they went. You went next door and got us a soda, and there was only a few more, but it was just a whole lot more of the same. He only got better. Like the last couple fights that you missed, I mean, he's right there. But again, I'm gonna call. There's something about when you fight somebody, you learn something. And you asked me when I boxed, right? And I boxed when I was younger for a few years, and then I boxed in my 20s. You learn something when you get in, and whatever you think is going to work isn't going to work, or you've got to keep digging deeper. You get hit, you get hurt, heaven forbid you get knocked down. There's certain things you learn about yourself, and those things you can then use them if you ever get in the situation again. And when you have to fight a really tough opponent, to where you've got to take a lot of punishment to still get the job done, there's some interesting things. So who knows? We'll be right. I'll bet you a Diet Mountain Dew that I'm right.
Okay.
All right. So sodas will be on me if for whatever reason you and the crazy guy from Europe and his whatever country, Kavasnat or something, it was horrible. I was like, well, I can't pronounce that. You were like, what's his name? I'm like, Gennady Golovkin. I was like, I don't even know. I sound like Gary Gnu with the Gnus. I don't know what's happening. But well, this is the Jake Podcast, jakepodcast.com. Check in for after this. We'll do a fight recap. Obviously, I'll do a fight recap after this to either tout my wonderful wisdom that I just know things that other people don't, or balls, I was wrong. So
maybe I'll get into boxing after this.
Dude, seriously, dude, if I can point you in the right direction, dude. It's great as far as workouts go, and as far as I mean, it doesn't hurt that if you happen to be out somewhere like that party you told me about, where those idiot yahoos came in and did all that. That if you were like, hey man, you guys need to leave, what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna do anything, but dude, you need to leave, and whatever. Dude takes a punch at you, and you look like, all of a sudden you look like one of those guys, and he throws a punch, you dip, hit him twice, he throws another punch, you dip underneath it, give him an uppercut, and all of a sudden, do not mess with that dude. That dude those guys were robbing the house in the middle of a party. I asked them to leave, they tried to fight me, and you just mopped the floor with them. It's not a bad skill to have.
I understand.
Understandable. All right, so we'll talk about that. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Obviously, this is Friday night. The fight will be happening probably right around this time tomorrow, and who knows? We'll come back and see who's right and wrong. There's a whole 1 liter of Diet Dew on the line, and that shit is like gold to me. So until then, JakePodcast.com signing out.